We have been learning in the Baal Shem Tov many, many times the importance of kavana. And it's so interesting, you know, we look at things sort of very, very objectively and factually very often, and we sort of put aside the subjective, the personal contact. It's mainly what the facts are, what's the truth. And you know, in the Torah, we have a very, very strong, positive, and unavoidable reference to how important the subject is. I'll give you an example. A woman makes a neder, and the halacha is that her husband, within 24 hours, has the possibility of being mevatel the neder. That's called hafaras nedarim. We have hataras nedarim, where you go to a bezdin, like we do before Rosh Hashanah, sit in hataras nedarim, a regular nusach. But there's such a thing as called hafaras nedarim, which means that the husband is just mevatel it. That's it. He don't even have to tell her. Husband heard that his wife made a neder, and it's something that he thinks is going to disturb their relationship, whatever it is. He can say, batal umavutal. It has no kiyum whatsoever. It doesn't mean anything. And he didn't tell her. But he was mevatel it. He heard about it, and he's mevatel his wife's neder, and he didn't tell her. She, not knowing that her husband was mevatel the neder, transgressed the neder. She made a neder of some kind, and she wasn't mekayim it, or she did the opposite, or whatever. Does she need a slicha and a kapara or not? Objectively, there's no neder. She didn't do anything wrong. The neder became batal.
Because the husband,
Excuse me?
because of the husband not.
The husband canceled the neder. There's no neder. She doesn't know that. She thinks that there is a neder. And she would transgress the neder. The Torah tells us clearly she needs slicha and kapara. In her mind, her subjective mind, she was over the neder, even though in truth there is no neder. What does that show us? That show us how important it is, the kavanah, the subjective, a view, the subjective approach to something. It's not only the objective. Not only the objective. The subjective is very, very important. So the personal input that a person has can't be underestimated at all. It's very, very important. And we are troubled very often when we try to do things right. All kinds of, disturbances come in, machshavos, even when we're talking to God. We are disturbed by all kinds of thoughts that come and disturb our mind, our words. And we say the words without thinking, and while we're saying the words, we're thinking about something else. You simply need siyata d'shmaya to avoid these thoughts from coming in and disturbing your mind. So I found, I think it was last year, I found in a sefer, brought down by a early Achron called the Sefer Kav HaYashar, that he writes in the sefer that he found this that I just passed out to you. He found this tefillah in the Sifrei Rishonim from the time of Rashi. That this tefillah was said by people in those days to ask Hashem to help them in the zchus of, look at the words, in the zchus of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, to save me from all kinds of machshavos zoros and hafros, so that I should be able to worship Hashem with, the proper kavanah. Since that time, I say this every single morning. The time to say it is after you wake up, you wash Netilas Yadayim, and you make the bracha on Netilas Yadayim. Then the first thing, before you start the day, you didn't do anything. This is the time to say it. Because from that moment on, you're now more susceptible to all kinds of machshavos. You're a new person, you woke up, and starting the day, the Yetzer Hara is ready, he's on the job, he's ready to disturb you in everything you're doing. So as soon as you get the chance, before you start the day, all you did is wash your hands, and you said, "Everything's done," make the tefillah right away. Hopefully, it'll make the day a better day. You have more kavanas, less disturbances.
Yeah, you're into it.
Okay.
Just before Modani?
Before Modani, even before Modani, yes. Even before, you could say Modani. I wouldn't be so. It doesn't make a difference really. You can say Modani first. I say Modani as soon as I open my eyes, I realize that I'm awake. Even before I wash my hands, I say Modani. I thank God that I woke up. So that's it. But after you wash your hands, and you have to make out things you're dying, the first thing right after that is to say this tefillah. And you're asking Hashem throughout the day, in the schus of Rabbi Yaakov and so on and so forth, prevent all kinds of machshavos from entering my mind, disturbing me, and as we just saw, how important the subjective is. The kavanah is very, very important. See, even though in truth, objectively, there's no neder, but her mind, there was a neder, she needs a sleep of kapala. Okay, so if anybody wants, I could make more copies if anybody wants more, but I didn't know how many people were here, so I brought what I have there. Okay. We're up to, in the Baal Shem Tov's, you all have, well, you don't have the papers, so here they are, okay. Take one and pass the rest, please. One. Thanks. You have about page. You don't have enough pages? I can go to my house and I can go and make more copies of. Or you can look on together. You can share one page. Okay, so the last thing we learned was on one page 150 there in front of you, Tzadik Ches. Let's go over that again quickly. Now, I want to say one thing. The arrangement of our davening or shachos, it goes the following way. We start out at the lowest level, when you have the first thing is korbanos and the ketores in the morning. That's the first level. That's so to speak, the lowest world, lowest level. Then you go up from Baruch Shomar until Yishtabach, Sukkah de Zimra. You're going up for what we call the Olam of Asiya, when there was action, korbanos being brought. You're doing things. The ketores, the korbanos. You go to the world of Yitzira. That's a higher level. And you're slowly getting up to Hashem, but you're going up by level one at a time, one level at a time. You can't go from zero to the top in one shot. It doesn't work that way. I'll give you a proof how it doesn't work that way. We just had the parsha this week when Avraham and Hashem are having a discussion. Hashem says to Avraham, "I'm going to destroy the whole world, destroy Sodom." So Avraham says, there's maybe some tzaddikim there. We don't destroy everybody. Why should the tzaddikim have to die out? So okay, there's an agreement. If there's going to be 50 tzaddikim, I won't destroy it. Okay. So they go. So Hashem said, 50. What about, and if there's 45? It's 45. It's not enough. I agree. 45 is also enough. After 45, maybe 40. They want to go down 45, 40, 35, 30, go all the way down to 10. Hashem said, okay, that's it. If there's 10, I'll agree. I'll save the whole place for 10. Now we're talking to Hashem. Hashem is, he's not like if someone in Machni Huda where you're bargaining with him, you talk to Hashem, say what you have to say, you want to say. Why did it go down 50, 40? Well, what's this whole business here? What is this discussion? The answer is, you're talking to Hashem, tafasta meruba lo tafasta. You can't go to the maximum immediately. You don't know if you're worthy of it. You have to build it up. You're worthy, you got your first request answered, then you can go to the next stage. That request was answered, you're worthy of that, then you go to the next stage. You don't go to the top right away and say, okay, for 10, you got to save the whole city. Yes, it's going to be no. Little by little, stage by stage. That's the way Anshe Knesset HaGadol set up the davening. You don't start Shachris from 0 and you start right away Shmona Esrei. You don't do it. You got to build it up slowly, stage by stage, level by level. The first level is the Karbanos, then you have Sukkah de Zimra, then you have Birchas Kriya Shema, and then you have the Shmona Esrei. Now you've been working all morning long. Hopefully this tefillah will help you with that. Even in Sukkah de Zimra, all the things that we just learned, you don't have all kinds of extraneous thoughts, and you're saying it properly. You're not rushing through the davening. And you're davening like you're supposed to at a normal pace. Then finally, you're given the opportunity to talk to God Himself directly. This is called by the Ramchal. You're in the Olam of Elokus. Shmona Esrei is the Olam of Elokus. Now, after you've been working hard and you know this is the person, this is the object that has everything in his hand. Hashem runs everything. He's the boss. How long should your conversation would be with Hashem? You have every opportunity in the world. You can ask for whatever you want. There's no limitations. He has the power to give you anything, anytime, in any way. How long should you honor that presence in Hashem? How long?
I'm not going to answer that yet, because I'm going to ask you, if he's listening to me, we also listening at the same time.
That's the greatness of him. He can listen to each one individually.
So I'm not holding anybody up.
Everyone is given a special attention. How long should that session with Hashem take? How long should you give it? How long should you want to stay in that situation? Well, I think if a person had any cycle at all, he would maximize him. You're given the opportunity to talk and to make your requests. When you ask for one thing, you can ask for anything you want. I'm letting you talk. You came to me with respect. You build it up slowly. You came to me stage after stage. Now you're here. Okay, I'm willing to listen. So you're going to finish one essay in 2 minutes? What is that? That shows that you're not worthy of me listening to you at all. Why should you don't give the respect to this session that we're having? You don't realize who you're talking to? I'm sorry, my friend. Take a seat. I'm letting you hear what you have to say. You can back up this morning as we go away. It doesn't mean a thing. I would say that it would give it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, talk and say the words and speak. You can speak any language you want to. If you want to ask tefillah, it doesn't have to be in Lashon HaKodesh. It can be in any language. Speak your heart, say what you have on your mind, talk to Hashem. That's what He wants. That's what He wants. You have to make requests. Unfortunately, we know what goes on in the shuls all around. And when they asked me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Rabbi Goldberg asked me, what do you want to give tefillah? What are you going to give shir on? So I said to him, this is a thing that everybody needs. We have to do the Baal Shem Tov's take on tefillah. See how he approaches it, what it means, to get understanding of the depth of tefillah, the meaning of tefillah, because it's such a thing which is one of the things which holds up the entire world. Shlosha dvarim ha'olam omein, ala Torah, v'ala avoda, v'gemilas chasadim. Avoda is service to Him. Tefillah is service to Him. Kabbanos, tefillah to Him. and it's something that you do all the time. It's a daily thing. It becomes sort of, a customary thing that you do that, but nobody really gives it the attention that it really deserves. It's a very, very important area that's neglected, and hopefully through our shiurim there'll be some arousal to the way that a person should daven. Okay, so we have this problem that we just mentioned before. When you're in the middle of the davening, all kinds of thoughts come into your mind, and that should be a very embarrassing thing for a person. You're talking to God. You should at least have, concentration to do only that and not let all kinds of extraneous things enter your mind. But what happens that it does happen to you? Things come into your mind. What are you supposed to be doing at that point? How are you supposed to feel? Well, some people daven so fast they don't have a chance to feel anything. They just want to finish it up and sit down. That's all. So look at what it says in Tzadiches. Tzadiches, kishenofel lo machshava zara. When it does happen, unfortunately, that extraneous thought, it's not an evil thought, but an extraneous thought. You think about what you have to do during the day. You're all kinds of things, a conversation you had with somebody, something you read in the newspaper, whatever it is. A thought comes into your mind, and you're supposed to be talking to Hashem, giving it full focus. So the Baal Shem Tov says the normal and the proper reaction to that is Ozai Yidboshesh Ad Ma'od. He doesn't just say be embarrassed. You should be very embarrassed. Imagine trying to talk to a king who's alive king, who has power of some kinds. Maybe he has power of life and death, but he's a king. He's a very, very powerful person in society. You would have tremendously strong focus on speaking to him and not talking to things to him, and he sees that your mind is wandering someplace else. You get thrown out immediately. But he says, if this comes into your mind, what is it supposed to mean to you? It means to you, first of all, you didn't try hard enough. Why? That is a sign that you have been given the exit sign. Hashem knows what's in your mind. If you're talking to him, you're saying words, and you're not thinking about what you're saying, other things are in your mind, that's a sign that you have been given the exit sign. In words, you have to be davening Shemona Esrei in such a mindset where if something comes into your mind, you catch yourself and you stop. That's very important. You just don't keep on going. He's telling you, you have to be standing Shemona Esrei where you're in control of yourself. And you realize, what happened to me? Where did this come from? So what do you do? What do you do at that moment? They know about Shemayim exactly what's going on with you, and the reaction to them is out. We're not interested in what you have to say because you don't have your mind on it. You're not focusing. You're not serious. So you've been given already the exit sign. You can sit down, finish Shemona Esrei, but we don't sit down, of course. You're still standing there. So you have to stop saying anything, get yourself back in control, get yourself back on focus, and say to myself, I've got to try harder. From this point on, I got to try harder. I'm not going to let it happen again. The first thing you do in the morning, this tefillah will help that it happens less, or won't happen at all. That's the whole purpose of this tefillah. Remember, this tefillah he puts down in the Sefer was from the Rishonim in the time of Rashi. They also had this problem. We're not the only ones who have problem with extraneous thoughts when we daven. In the times of the Rishonim, hundreds of years ago, maybe even earlier, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,500 years ago, when you're talking, a person is human, and his mind is very, very, complex. All kinds of things can enter your mind. But if it's something which is very, very important, you're standing trial, you're talking to the judge, you are very, very focused in such a case. You have to feel that. You have to feel that you're standing in front of Hashem, and he knows exactly what's going on inside your mind. So therefore, you have to be extremely, extremely on top of it and in control. And if something enters, you stop. You don't let your mouth continue to talk when other things are in your mind and you're not thinking about what to say. That is very, very embarrassing. That is disgraceful. Disgraceful to talk to Hashem in such a way when your mind is someplace else. Yeah.
Is there a 50% response, say?
What does that mean?
So that you're not concentrating 100%, which I'm not sure is even possible
Why is it?
to be that focused. But is there a partial response, even if you have a mishmash of ideas coming to you?
What could I tell you? I can't tell you. You have to try as hard as you can. That's all. It's not easy. It's not easy because it's something you do 3 times a day, and you're used to the words, and it's sort of something just like that flows. But that's the problem. That's the problem. That's part of the test. A person should really come to shul early, not come the last minute, and then start to daven. That's very difficult. Very difficult. If you want to do it properly, you should have to come 15 minutes earlier, 20 minutes earlier, prepare yourself, be relaxed, get your mind on focus, and then you start davening. Then you have a good chance that it's going to be proper. But to come in the last minute and jump in and, what can I tell you?
Is it a step in the right direction of my experience, thoughts, or are you telling me to vote? Like I'm hearing you.
That's good. That's better than stomach. It's better. It's better. But look at the language that he uses to describe what he says, what this is considered. Look what he says. Next line. Machshava zara hu avera kamo moed mamzer. You hear that? That's very, very strong language. A strange thought. You're having a personal relationship with God. Where do you get now something else which has nothing to do with your religion coming in the middle? That's like creating a mamzer. It doesn't belong here, Moshe. Doesn't belong here. Aderech is the Gemara. Rechela bas rechela azla. Okay, so he brings a raya from the Gemara. Kamosha machshava hu davar v'nuk. Why? Why does he say this? He says machshava is dachar v'nukva. There is in this relationship that you're having with Hashem right now, there is a female and male aspect to it. Why? Ki hakol, the voice that comes out of your mouth, you have dibur, those 2 things. Remember, you have sound that you emit from your mouth, and you have the syllables, the vowels that you create by moving your lips and your tongue. That causes the dibur. That makes the words. You have sound, which you can emit sound without saying anything. Some sound comes out. But you want to take that sound and make it into words. That's the dibur. So the kol is like the zachar, it's the male, and the dibur is the taking the sound and making it develop, like a woman develops what's in her to produce a baby. So the sound is the male, and the words, the letters, are the female, and they work together, and it's supposed to produce some kind of idea, and you don't want any strange things to come into that. Call the dibur, that's dachar v'nukva. If you have something which is strange, and you're talking words of kedusha, you're saying the words, but your thoughts are someplace else, it's kamo a mamzer. Why is it compared to a mamzer? Kamo adam. Mamzer look like anybody. On the outside, it looks the same. Adam kosher, but the previous inside him, something is wrong inside him. There's some kind of a combination in him that made him up, and he's doesn't have the inside. The internal is missing in the mamzer. The outside, he looks like anybody else. The words, the female part of it, some are letters of kedusha. The machshava is extraneous thoughts. And you're giving birth to a mamzer, something which doesn't belong here. It's not part of the original relationship. You have to say further, said the Baal Shem Tov. Okay, next page. We'll have the next page. Here we are. Take one past the left, please. 151. Yours, 151, anybody else needs here? Anybody else need a page? So he says, aside from the fact that you are producing a mamzer, you have to think, oh yeah, sure, omero madua bosa be'ateva. Why did you come into these words? I am not there. You came to the words, you know, you're using the words, but I'm not there. So if you're not there, Hashem's not there either. Okay. Next piece, tzadites. Im adam mispala. If a person is davening, v'yesh lo machshava zora. Bazai, you have to realize, chas v'shalom, haklipa rocheves al hadibur. There is kochas of tumah riding on those words that you have admitted. Ki machshava rocheves al hadibur. It's a machshava, the thoughts, they ride on the words, and that's what it said, the Shira Shirim, the Susasi, B'richli Paro. He says, the horses on the chariots of Paro, Susim Nikram Hadiburim, the horses, they are the vehicle to transfer the thoughts. The words are like the horses, they are the vehicle that's transfer the thoughts. That's the Dibur. Ukesheparo, Hainu HaMachshava Zora, in Paro, he says, the B'richli Paro, when Paro, meaning to say this evil force called Paro in Mitzrayim, over here he's what's compared the Shir Hashirim to this idea of Machshava Zara. Rochev Alav, when you have a strange thought riding on the words, on the horses, so to speak, on the words, Azai Dimisich Rayasi, he says, Azai Dimisich Rayasi, I think of you at that time, my coveted one. Yosef Tov Inishotek. I would much rather you be silent that time. Avol davar hayotze mileiv nichnas aleiv pirush. Below leiv ha'elyon al yedei ha'haval kenoda. That is a very interesting note on the bottom. Things that come out of your heart are also very important. Now look at this. It's very, very interesting what he says on the bottom. Look in the note on Ayin Gimel at the very bottom. There you see on the Makor Mayim Chaim on the bottom of the page. It's a very interesting point. The Sefer, you all have that on the bottom there, Ayin Gimel. The Sefer Or HaMeir, Shir Hashirim, Pasuk, Mizos Ola Kasal V'Zel Shonim. Shamaiti B'Shem Baal Shem Tov. Sho'amar Inyan Echus Aliyas Tulaseinu. Just think about it for a moment. What happens after you say a word and you have the thoughts? What happens to that? Where does it go? What happens to it? How do you describe the sound and the words after it's no longer audible and the word is not being pronounced anymore? What happens with what came out of my mouth and of my mind? What happens to it? So he says, Echus Aliyos Tfilasenu, the quality of elevating our prayers, bevadai hatfila eina ola begashmius. Commotion adam viv. Don't get any wrong ideas. The words do not go up physically as a person emits them from his mouth. They are, in other words, in another called realm. Once they come out of your mouth, they're another realm altogether. They did not remain the words that you said. Something came out, air came out, sound came out, vowels came out. What happens to it afterwards? So he says, Ki in kamo ha'ashan oleh. Compare it to just like smoke. V'hu rak re'usa v'ratzon ha'adam. What goes up is re'usa, it means the will. I don't know why he uses the Aramaic and the Hebrew. Re'usa v'ratzon, the same thing. All that comes out there now is your will. Vis ororus, vis lavus. It comes out according to the arousal and to the flame with which you emit it. The sounds that came out have a greater power if they have greater arousal, more emotion, and I would say a greater power to, I would say, enlighten or to heat up what has to be heated up in Shemayim. A person who has seichel, the eyes of his brain are operating for him. Yireh asher kololos hatfilos kishaolim. If you take all of the tefillos and put them together as they go up, einam ki'im kamo ashan ha'oleh. All that goes up, rak ru'usa v'ratzon. But at the end of the day, what comes up to Shemayim is your ratzon, your will, and that's it. That's it. It comes up in it's very spiritual form, even though you said the words, after you mimic them, what happens a second later? There's nothing there. It's just air that came out of your mouth. Today they have instruments that can measure these things. I don't know exactly, how they do that exactly, but there are instruments that can measure sound and they can even know what kind of speech one person has, one person another has. Everyone has probably an own identity. But he says what comes up to Shemayim is basically the end of the story, the end of the day it's your ratzon. That's what comes up. So it's very, very important to have the focus. What can we say? It's Indian Doraisa. We saw that the focus, the subjective input, for that alone, a person that has slicha and mechila and kapara, if they transgress it, they don't look at the facts. The fact, the ratzon, a person is extremely, extremely important. And we see from here, we have also the Indian. We have realized, and we know, there's such a thing as ayin hara. What does it mean, ayin hara? What does ayin hara is? What is it? Well, people are afraid of an evil eye. What is that? What is an evil eye? What is that? Can that be measured objectively? Can you measure an evil eye with any instruments? Can't be measured. It's thoughts. My thoughts, my evil thoughts about somebody else, wishing that person evil, that has some kind of an effect. And there's so much in the literature about removing an ayin hara. It's not something which is something, superstitious. An ayin hara has makom in the words of Chazal and in the Rishonim. They all talk about ayin hara. And we ask, and we spell in the morning to save us from an ayin hara. So we see how important machshav is. Our thoughts can affect in Shemayim. Our thoughts can affect other people. And just take the opposite also. If you have an ayin hara, Allah has kama v'kama, if you have an ayin tova. If you wish somebody else good, it's also going to have an effect. Much more than the ayin hara. If the negative has an effect, so avada, the positive has an effect, which we all know. Baruch Hu always favors mida tova al mida temporalius. So if you wish somebody well and you have good intentions, it's going to have an effect on the other person also. You don't have to say a third and say a thing. Just thoughts. Wish the other person well. If you give him a bracha verbally, it's even better, because now it has a kli. But even without the kli, it seems that the thoughts themselves are very, very effective. Very effective. So it's a very important thing to remember, which we just learned now, that after you come out of your mouth, it's really, but at the end of the day, it's your machshava. That's what goes up to Shemayim. Okay, let's go on the page. Kuf. Inyan hayichud, the putting together. What does that mean? Yichud shelo lahafrid haseichel min hadibur. You have to be very, very careful to concentrate on what you are saying. There is, I would say, another reason for people to daven with a sin. It's better, of course, and remember, tefillah was always something which existed. Prayer always existed, but they didn't have sidurim, they didn't have print, all the way back in history. But because of our difficulty in avoiding all these thoughts from coming into our minds, if we open our eyes and look at the word, and you put your finger on it and you focus on it, it makes it easier for you to concentrate and less probability of other things, extraneous thoughts entering. Because the yichud, it's very important to keep that coupling all the time. Lo lahafrir haseichel min hadiburim. Do not separate your intelligence, your mind, from the words. And if you look at the word while you're saying it and concentrate on it, that's that coupling. Is that what you want? Shlo la'arev rabatov. V'zahu v'etz hadas tov v'ra. Interesting. Eitz hadas in the Gan Eden, tov v'ra. How can it be tov v'ra? It all depends. If the thoughts are together with the words, then it's tov. But if the thoughts are not there, then rak creeps in and messes up the relationship, makes some serious. Also, shifchos kitirash gevirta. Opinion Mayim Elyonim. I don't know what he means exactly by the Mayim Elyonim there, but we understand the point. Okay. Now he comes to an area in Kuf Aleph, which is very important for success. Remember, I just told you before how important it is to come to shul early. To come to shul early, you sit down, relax, and you have to get yourself into the type of mindset. I'm now going to talk to God. I now have an audience with the Creator, the Master of the world. You just don't walk in and say, I'm here, I want to speak to you. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. It requires let's call it a period of meditation, of serious meditation before you even start. And when you finally get to the Shmona Esrei, you've been building yourself up. You should be so elevated and so detached from everything that you're not worried about side thoughts coming into your mind at that time already. You've been working slowly, building yourself up, going higher and higher and higher. Finally, you come to the Shmona Esrei, you're so focused, you're not worried about anything. Look what he says in Kuf Aleph. B'tfila in Shmona Esrei, tzarech liyos kamo mufshat migashmius. That means to say, when you're davening Shmona Esrei, you lose contact with the physical world. You lose contact with the physical world. You're not aware of what's going on anymore. You only know that I'm talking to God at this point. At that moment, nothing else in the world is registering with me. I'm detached. That's the way you're supposed to be davening Shmona Esrei. You won't hear a bang. You won't hear the birds. Someone comes up to you and talks to you, it won't register. It won't register because you've been working and building it up, and you came early to shul, and you're focusing, and you're really doing it the way you're supposed to. You finally get to talk to Hakadosh Baruch Hu. You're so attached, you're so focused there, you don't hear or know or see of anything else. All you know is what you're talking to Hashem. That's it. Mufshat min hagasmius. Ve'inenu margish mitziusa b'olam hazeh. You don't even realize that you're standing in the world. You lose it. You're lifted off the ground. You don't even realize that you're standing here. You're so elevated and so attached. It's like your neshama is really what's being active now, and your guf is sort of asleep on the side. Guf is not active. It's all your neshama. You're all doing neshama work right now. That's how you should feel. That's how you're supposed to work towards that. Work towards that. Is a very interesting pshat in what it says in Pirkei Avos, in Ein Anili Mili. Now, if you take that in a regular way of translating it, it'd be just the opposite of what he's saying. The words there say, "Im ein ani li," if I'm not going to be for myself, who's going to worry about me? Me li. In other words, I got to worry about myself. This is what's going on all over the world. Everyone thinking about themselves. Yeah, I have a raya and picking up, as it says, "Im ein ani li," but don't take care of myself. Me li, who's going to take care of me? Can't depend on other people. I got to be, independent. Got to take care of myself. This is the absolute opposite of Judaism. The absolute opposite of Judaism. Of course. Ain't so canal a nace, and it's better to be independent and not dependent on other people, be self-sufficient. That's true. But not to the point is that I am it, me, myself, and I. My entire existence not supposed to be for me. I'm only here doing a mission. I have to make tikkun olam. Why am I here to begin with? Why am I here? I'm recycled. I've been here before. I didn't complete my job the first time or the second time. Could be the third time or the fourth time I'm here. Who knows? I know that I have to make tikkun olam. There are things in Shamayim that require an adjustment. There is some kind of a kilkel up there in the spiritual world that was created before the physical world. This physical world was created so that we can make that tikkun. That's what we're here for. It's not enough to say, I want to do whatever Hashem says. I do Ritzon Hashem. You have to have the real goal in mind. Ritzon Hashem is, at the very depth of it, is to make that tikkun. When that tikkun is completed, that's when the Geula will come. That's what we all want. So, to say that I just have to think about myself, then what are you doing here? You don't realize what came down to the world. You came down to the world to make tikkun olam, to fix the kilkel that went on before this world was created. That's what you're here for, not for yourself. That's the simple pshat. But the Baal Shem Tov says, I have a different pshat in those same words. Kloma, and ein ani li mili. Think of that. Me, all right, look, he'll say it inside. Kloma, kishani ovo lemadrego. Shelo eda ve'ergash klal imanili. If I get to the madrega that we just described, where I don't know about my existence in this world, I don't even feel myself in the world. I'm not in the world. I'm detached from this world. Ein anili me. Ein anili. I'm not to myself. I'm detached. I'm in Shmona Esrei. I'm not here. I'm completely detached from this world. Then, I don't know if I'm here or I'm not. I'm completely detached from it. Then I'm not going to have any fear of anything that could come and disturb me. Why? What kind of strange thoughts can come into my mind if I'm not here in this world? Only if I'm here, they try to disturb me not to be a good servant to Hashem because I'm here. So they can come to me. But if I'm not here, mili. If I'm not here, then mili. What's mili? What's loma? What kind of machshava can come to me? Who's going to come and bother me? If I'm not here, mili. Who's going to bother me? That's the Baal Shem Tov's pshat in words. Unlike what we just said before. What we just said before, people can translate that incorrectly to think that you have to be independent, self-sufficient, not to rely on other people, and take care of yourself. That's it. That's the way the world works. What's in it for me principle, which is the opposite of Judaism. The complete opposite of Judaism, that is a form of avodah zarah. It's a form of avodah zarah. There's only one God in this world, and we have to worship Him. And if you're worshiping yourself, that's a form of avodah zarah. Lo yeh l'cha Elohim acherim al panai. The second of the 10 commandments. To be a person who is totally self-contained. That's all, and self-concerned. That's it. That's a form of avodah zarah. But in the Hasidic way of explaining those words, if ein ani, if I'm not going to be concerned about myself, meaning who's going to bother me? Who's going to bother me? They're only bothering me when I'm interested in myself. Then they're going to try to increase that and make me worse than I am. But if I'm not here in this world, there's no one to bother. It's me. Who's going to bother me? You can say, even on a deeper level, in Gematria, how much is me? How much is me in Gematria? 50, right? Men you, right? And ein ani li, if I'm not here, then I'm at the Shach HaMishim. I'm at the 50th level. When do we reach the 50th level? When do we reach the 50th level? When? After 49 days of Sphira, reach the 50th level. It's Matan Torah. It's Har Sinai. If I'm not here, then I can reach Shar Hanun immediately. The Gematria, Mem Yud, is 50, then I'm connected to Hashem. When I'm not here, I'm connected to Him. That's another way of looking at it. Okay. Let's see what time we have now. I have to stop. I'm sorry. We'll continue Midrash Hashem next week, and we'll come back to this place. I have an appointment. I told you Kupas Polin, so I have to leave right now. I'm sorry. Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sure, it's all.